What would your life become if you stopped waiting for the perfect time, if you stopped holding back, second-guessing, putting things off? How many dreams have you buried, not because they were out of reach, but because you never acted, not due to lack of talent or vision, but because you paused? You waited for motivation, for the right conditions, for that ready feeling, and in that waiting, momentum died. Opportunities slipped past. The future you longed for moved further away. But the truth is this: the biggest threat to your goals isn't failure, it's hesitation. It's the quiet pause between wanting and deciding, that split second when your instinct shouts go, but your doubt whispers wait. That moment determines everything. That's where the real battle is fought, and either won or lost. And today, right now, we draw the line. Because you weren't made to remain still. You weren't built to hold back. You were designed to move, build, to act. That side of you, the one that leaps, that pushes past fear, that refuses excuses, it's still inside. You just have to awaken it. Let's be clear, this isn't some pep talk. This is a direct order. It's time to make yourself move. Not tomorrow, not later, now. Because that future you crave isn't waiting, it's racing forward. And if you want to meet it, you'll have to run. Let's be honest. Most people don't fall short due to a lack of ability, intelligence, or chances. They fall short because they never begin. They spend years circling the idea, tweaking plans, visualizing outcomes, but they never launch. They mistake planning for progress. They wait for something they call motivation. And when it never comes, they stay still, comfortable but stuck. Motivation is a fraud, a trap wearing a mask of inspiration. It tells you action will come when you feel ready, but you never feel ready. Life won't wait for your feelings to align. Success doesn't arrive only when you're fired up. It arrives when you do. The raw truth. Motivation fades. Feelings shift. But discipline, action, that's the rewiring force. You've been taught that you must feel inspired before acting, but the reality, action creates inspiration. Motion fuels momentum. You don't wait to feel confident before jumping. You jump and confidence follows. The people you admire, the ones who changed their world, built legacies, rewrote their future, they weren't fearless, they simply acted anyway. They knew this truth. The pain of doing something uncomfortable is nothing next to the regret of doing nothing. Regret is the heaviest burden you'll ever bear, and it's built one missed action at a time, one excuse, one delay, one maybe tomorrow. And if you let those stack up, they will crush you. Hesitation isn't just a pause, it's a decision. Every time you stall, even briefly, your mind senses risk. Not physical danger, but emotional and mental threat. Your subconscious kicks in with questions. What if I fail? What will they think? What if I'm not ready? And without even starting, you've already talked yourself out. But here's the untold truth: hesitation is a habit, and habits can be broken. It starts with a new identity. You stop being the hesitant thinker. You become the decisive doer. You rewire your mind by pairing thought with immediate action, not tomorrow, now. Next time you feel fear, do the opposite of what your instincts suggest. Speak when silence feels safer. Move when you want to freeze. Commit when you feel unsure. Train your nervous system that hesitation doesn't protect, it traps. The more you move through the unknown, the more your brain says, "This is who I am now," and everything shifts. Hesitation fades when decisiveness becomes who you are. You don't need the right moment. You don't need more belief. You don't need anyone's permission. You need to move. That's it. And the faster you move, the faster fear falls behind. Action is the remedy. Forward is the solution. So ask yourself, what would my life be if every moment of hesitation became bold, clear action? You already know. It would be unrecognizable, relentless, unapologetic. And that version of you is the one we're unlocking. Discipline isn't punishment. It's not limitation. It's not the death of freedom, it's the birth of it. The people you revered, icons remembered across generations, they weren't powered by fleeting motivation. They were grounded in something deeper, unwavering self-discipline. the kind that doesn't care how you feel, the kind that shows up whether the skies are clear or storming, the kind that acts, not because it's easy but because it must. Most believe they need motivation to act. That's a lie. Motivation is a mood. Discipline is a mindset. Motivation says, maybe, later. Discipline demands, now. Discipline is the silent engine of every major transformation. It's what wakes you at dawn. It's what turns struggle into strength, repetition into skill, pain into purpose. It's the line between the dreamer and the achiever. So hear this. If you failed before, it wasn't from lack of talent, it was lack of follow-through. You quit when things got hard, when feelings shifted, when doubt got loud. But the disciplined man, he shows up regardless, even when the passion fades, even when no one sees, because he knows every step, every rep, every word done in quiet becomes a roar in time. Discipline is your advantage. It's your weapon regardless of your past, your pain, or your starting point. Maybe you're not the smartest, maybe not the fastest, but if you're the most consistent, you'll win. Over time, discipline beats talent. So if you want to destroy fear, become more disciplined than your doubt. Outwork hesitation. Let your actions speak. Say it loudly. Fear doesn't get a say anymore. You don't need to feel ready, you just need to take action. One choice at a time, one commitment at a time. That's how you become unstoppable. And here's something people rarely admit: discipline feels difficult at the start, but over time, it becomes who you are. And once it's who you are, it's no longer forced, automatic. That's real power. Let me ask you this. How long have you been in limbo, waiting for the perfect moment, for a sign from the universe, for a lightning bolt of motivation, waiting for your calendar to clear, for confidence to appear like magic? You say, once I'm ready, I'll dive in. But here's the harsh truth. The longer you wait, the tighter fear grips your potential. The reality, there is no perfect time. There never was, there never will be. The stars won't align. Circumstances won't suddenly become ideal. You won't wake up one day without fear. Success doesn't reward those who wait, it rewards those who move. It's a tough pill to swallow, but if you don't act, you'll rot in the waiting room of your own life. You'll watch others pass you by, not because they were smarter, more skilled, or better prepared, but because they moved while you stood still. The ones who win aren't the ones with all the answers. They're the ones willing to start messy. They take bold, imperfect steps. They trip, they fall, but they keep moving. That momentum builds skill. That momentum creates mastery. Confidence isn't born from waiting, it's earned by doing, by showing up, by doing it badly, again and again, until fear has no choice but to get out of the way. Because momentum isn't born from certainty, it's born from action. Want to write a book? Start even if the first words are awful. Want to build a business? Offer your services even if no one bites. Want to get healthy? Move your body even if you're drained. Begin now, not later, not when it's easier. You don't need the whole path, just the next step. Why do most people fall short of their goals? It's not lack of skill. It's not lack of potential. It's because they wait too long. They overanalyze. They obsess over flawless plans and strategies. And in the end, they do nothing. Perfection is a fantasy, and chasing it will trap you. It will disguise itself as preparation, while it chains you to inaction. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop convincing yourself you need to learn more, be more, have more. Stop stalling for one more course, one more book, one more mentor. The truth is, everything you need is already inside you, but you'll only access it by acting. Look at the world's greatest achievers: Edison, Ford, Oprah, Musk. Do you think they waited for certainty? Do you think they started with all the answers? No. They used what they had. They made mistakes. They adapted. They moved forward. And that's what matters. Movement breeds clarity. Taking action lights the way. Each step reveals the next. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. Lock this into your mind. Your brain will lie. It'll whisper that you're not ready. It'll shout about failure. It'll insist this isn't the right time. And you have to be strong enough to act anyway. Because if you wait until the fear disappears, you'll never move. You have to become the person who acts regardless of fear, who shows up no matter what, who leans in when it's uncomfortable. That's the line between average and extraordinary. Average waits, extraordinary moves. And when you take action with intensity even when it's imperfect, you rise above the crowd. You create change not someday, but now. Because here's what most people forget. Action kills fear. Fear thrives when you're still. It grows in inaction. But the second you take a step, it weakens, it shrinks, and you rise. So here's your challenge. Choose one thing you've been avoiding. One thing you've overthought to death. And do it. Not next week. Not tomorrow. Now make that call. Start that workout. Write that page. Launch the idea. Say the words. Move, especially if your voice trembles. Especially if your knees shake. Because every big thing, every company, every story, every breakthrough began with imperfect, brave action. The life you dream about isn't standing still. It's out there, waiting for you to move. So stop waiting, stop stalling, stop letting fear make decisions. Take massive, messy, courageous action like your future depends on it, because it does. It's not time holding you back. It's not money, your job, your background, or your environment. It's not even the fear itself. It's the voice in your head, the one that whispers you can't, the one that insists you're not ready, the one that taunts. What if you fail? What if you look like a fool? What if it all falls apart? That voice is not the real you. That voice is your past in disguise. It's every time you were told no, every rejection, every painful wound echoing back. It dresses up like logic, like caution, like protection. But in truth it's fear, and unless you learn to shut it down, it will rule your life. You must understand something. Ready for the next part, whenever you are. Let me know if you want a combined version later, or changes in tone, language. That powerful voice in your head isn't your conscience, it's your programming. It's a collection of all the doubt others have fed you, teachers who warned you not to aim too high, friends who laughed at your ambition, family who meant well but told you to be realistic. All of it built up, layer by layer, creating a prison of fear in your mind. And now, that prison is what's keeping your potential locked away. You think you're being smart, you think you're avoiding danger, but what you're really doing is following a false belief. That voice tells you to play it safe, to wait for perfection, to believe you're different from those who succeed. And bit by bit, without even realizing it, you start living your whole life inside a cage you didn't even construct. You inherited it, you absorbed it, but now, you must tear it down. Because the real enemy isn't outside, it's that inner voice, the critic that ruins every shot before you take it, the one that rehearses failure over and over, the one that keeps you stuck, overthinking, planning, stalling but never really starting. Until you face it head-on, nothing will shift. So how do you silence it? Not by reasoning with it, not by waiting for it to shut up, not by treating it like it's logical. No, you beat it through action. You crush it by doing exactly what it says not to do. You challenge it, again and again, until it loses power. See, the brain is like a muscle. It gets stronger based on repetition. Every time you choose fear, you reinforce it. Every time you dodge a challenge, you teach your brain that fear is right. But when you do the opposite, when you take the step despite the fear, you start shaping a new belief, a stronger one, a new identity. You stop identifying with fear and start becoming the person who breaks through it. But the trick, you have to act before you feel brave. You have to move before confidence arrives. Confidence doesn't lead, it follows. It comes after the action, after the struggle, after the fear has been confronted and defeated. So next time that voice shows up, and it will remember this, you don't need to win the mental battle. You just need to ignore it long enough to move. Let it yell, let it panic, let it scream. Then do the thing anyway. That's when you reclaim your power. That's when fear begins to die, not by being erased, but by being starved. Starved of your attention, your obedience, your belief, until eventually, that voice grows quiet, and your true voice, the one with fire, clarity, boldness, rises to take over. Make no mistake, the world is not changed by the fearless. It's changed by those who act despite the fear. The icons you admire, they felt fear, they had doubts, but they didn't stop. They moved, and it's that movement, not talent, not brilliance, not chance, that made them legends. You hold that same power right now. The only thing stopping you is the fear you keep feeding. Stop giving it airtime. Stop letting it write your story. Stop letting it shape your future. You've got dreams that deserve to breathe, ideas that deserve expression, a life that deserves to be fully lived, and at halfway, not under the shadow of imagined threats. So let me say this, every time fear speaks, remind yourself you weren't born to shrink, you weren't born to run, you weren't made to obey a voice that has never created anything. You were made to build, to lead, to live out loud, to live boldly. And the only way to become fearless is to stop negotiating with fear. Starve that voice. Feed your action. Take back control. Now that you've stepped forward, now that you've silenced fear with movement, there's something greater waiting for you. It's not motivation, not luck, not even discipline alone. It's momentum, unstoppable, compounding momentum. Let me break something down for you, something most people never understand. It's not how big the step is that transforms your life. It's the consistency of stepping again and again, no matter what. That's what creates strength. That's what builds identity. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Motivation, it's fleeting. It changes with your energy, your environment, your sleep, your feelings. But momentum is mechanical. It doesn't need emotion. It doesn't ask for permission. It's like a train gaining speed, slow and clunky at first, but once it's rolling, it's unstoppable. Most people never reach that speed. Want to know why? Because they keep stopping. They begin something, a habit, a goal, a routine with fire and passion. But after a few tough days, a few hurdles, they pause, they hesitate, and they reset. Again and again. But each reset costs them the one thing that could have carried them. Momentum. Think of it like pushing a boulder uphill. At first, it's exhausting. You question everything. But with persistence, you gain leverage. The hill starts to even out. Then one day you reach the top. Gravity switches sides. Now, the boulder works for you, not against. That's momentum. But it only works if you don't stop. You can't freeze every time discomfort shows up. You can't pause every time you don't see immediate results. You can't wait for things to feel smooth, because they won't. Not at the start. Success, change, reinvention. These aren't handed out, they're earned. Step by painful step. Choice by difficult choice. Day by day. You have to stop restarting your life. Stop living in cycles of almost. Stop breaking your own promises the moment motivation fades. You are not your emotions. You are not your doubt. You are your actions, your consistency. If you can commit to showing up even when it feels pointless, you will generate a force within you greater than anything you've ever experienced. That force is momentum. Because here's the truth. Every time you follow through, you're laying bricks, one brick at a time. It might not look like much, but over time, those bricks build a wall, a structure, a fortress. And one day, you'll look around and realize you're living in the very life you once dreamed of. And the secret, it didn't stop. It didn't reset. You didn't let feelings dictate action. You let momentum do what motivation never could. So let me speak now to the part of you that wants to give up, the part that says, maybe tomorrow. Kill that part with repetition. Silence it with structure. Bury it in movement. Your goal right now isn't perfection. It isn't speed. It isn't instant success. It's one thing. Don't stop. Momentum will make you stronger than you ever thought possible, not because you tried harder, but because you kept going. One step turned into 5, 5 into 50, and suddenly You don't even recognize the person in the mirror, in the best way possible. You're sharper, you're more focused, you're unshakable, not because the road became smooth, but because you grew stronger by walking it anyway. This is how greatness is truly forged, not in one genius move, but in hundreds of simple steps repeated with relentless consistency, built through habit, through resilience, through momentum that snowballs, like compound interest in silence, slow at first, then explosive. So whatever you're after, be it a business, a skill, or a version of yourself you've never met, stop needing it to be easy. Stop waiting for every step to feel thrilling. And most of all, stop starting from scratch. You already have what it takes. What's missing isn't inspiration, it's consistency. And when you lock that in, fear fades, doubt weakens, and quitting becomes impossible, because now you're not crawling, you're not debating, you're moving, you're rising, you're relentless. And that's when the world begins to pay attention. That's when doors start to open, not for the most talented, but for the most tenacious. So go, keep moving, lay the next brick, protect your momentum, and never stop building the life you were born for. There comes a point on this path where something deeper kicks in, something beyond motivation, beyond goals, even beyond discipline. That moment is when you stop trying to succeed and instead become someone who succeeds. You shift your identity. Because let's get one thing clear. Success isn't just about actions, it's about identity, about who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who always delays, you'll keep delaying. If you see yourself as inconsistent, you'll keep giving up. If you see yourself as someone who tries but never wins, then that's the story you'll keep living, no matter how badly you want a different ending. That's the weight of identity. Your brain is hardwired to match what you believe about yourself. It's not just a thought, it's a command. It becomes the blueprint you run on. So even if you dream of wealth, or strength, or boldness, if deep down your identity whispers, "But that's not really me," your actions will sabotage you. Every single time. You'll make excuses, you'll stall out, you'll slip into comfort, and you won't even realize why. This is why most people fail. Not because they lack potential, not because they lack opportunity, but because they are trying to create a new reality while dragging around an old identity. You don't build wealth while thinking like someone who's always broke. You don't become fearless while seeing yourself as fragile. You don't become unstoppable by holding on to the version of you that always resets. So what's the solution? You become the person who must succeed. You rewire your mind. You upgrade your view of yourself. You don't just tweak habits, you raise your standards. You stop saying, "I'll try," and start declaring, "This is who I am." You quit bargaining with weakness. You start moving like someone who's already there. It's not about pretending, it's about deciding. And the second you decide that the old version of you is gone, that version dies. And with it, every excuse that once kept you safe. From that moment forward, everything changes. The question is no longer, "Can I do it?" It becomes, "What would someone like me do now?" Would they skip their habits? Would they delay their goal? Would they let fear talk louder than purpose? No, because the person who must succeed has burned the boats. There's no retreat, no plan B, just action, alignment, certainty. That's how elite performers think. Not because they're always motivated, not because they never doubt, but because they've trained their identity. They expect excellence from themselves, not as a show, but as a lifestyle. That's why they rise at 5 a.m. while the world sleeps. That's why they grind in silence when no one's watching. That's why they stand apart. They're not acting like champions, they are champions. And you must make the same choice. From this moment forward, you're not someone who wants success. You are success in motion. You don't wait for validation. You create it. With every step, with every decision. Every time you act with certainty. Every time you do what your old self would have avoided, you strengthen the new you. It becomes your baseline, your default. Who you are when nobody's watching. And that's how fear dies forever. Because fear can't survive in a mind that knows who it is. Doubt has no home when action matches purpose. So what comes next? You choose. You decide who you are, and then you fight for that version. Every day until your reality catches up. Because once the decision is made, once you claim that identity, there's nothing left to fear. Only the future you were built to create. And if you're ready to change your life, if you're ready to silence fear, if you're ready to build, because movement is the spark. One step becomes momentum. Momentum becomes identity. And that identity becomes unstoppable. But it all begins with one thing: choice. The decision to stop hesitating and start becoming. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. The longer you delay, the deeper the habit of hesitation digs in. And hesitation doesn't just stall your goals, it rewires your brain to believe you're someone who never starts. You must interrupt that pattern. You must flip the switch. Not with hype, not with perfect plans, but with action. Immediate, deliberate action. That's the shift. That's the move that changes everything. The people you look up to, they didn't start with all the answers. They didn't wait to feel confident. They moved first, and confidence came later. They silenced their doubts with motion. And so can you. You just have to stop feeding the fear. You have to stop pampering your insecurities. You have to stop making space for the part of you that wants to stay small. Because if you give fear room, it will fill it. If you leave the door cracked, doubt will walk right in. So slam it shut. Cut off the exit routes. Burn the backup plans. And force yourself to live fully in this moment. Because the truth is, growth doesn't happen when you're comfortable. It happens when you're willing to get uncomfortable and stay there. That's where the magic is. Not in talent, not in luck, in your ability to act through discomfort again and again until it no longer scares you. That's how courage is built. That's how resilience is forged. That's how you step into a version of yourself you haven't even met yet. But it starts with movement. Today, not dramatic, not perfect, just real, just now. So take the step, break the cycle, become the person who doesn't pause when it's hard, but moves because it's hard. That's where you find your power. That's where your future is waiting. You're not behind, you're not broken. You're just one decision away from becoming everything you were built to be. The question is, will you move? Not once, not twice, but every single day you will be tested. Motivation will fade, passion will flicker, but what won't fade is discipline, your unshakable commitment to take action no matter how you feel. That's what builds a life worth remembering. Stop waiting for a miracle, become one. If you've been hoping for a sign, this is it. Your goals aren't on pause, your future isn't frozen, but you won't build anything from the sidelines. You have to enter the arena. You have to stand up, fight, and keep moving even when no one's watching, even when there's no applause. No guarantee, just you, deciding it's time, because it is time. Time to stop shrinking. Time to stop explaining yourself. Time to stop carrying your dreams like delicate secrets and start lifting them like banners for the world to see. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need the next move. One bold, clear step forward, and then another, and another. With each step the path unfolds. With each rep your strength grows. With each fear you face, your power rises. That's how you become unstoppable, not through wishing, but through working. Wake up every day with fire in your chest and steel in your spine. Remind yourself that no one is coming to save you, and that's not a curse, it's your power. Own it. This life is not a practice run. If you don't write your own story, someone else will. If you don't rise, you'll be ruled. If you don't act, the world will decide for you. So take control. Be the writer. Be the builder. Be the flame that refuses to go out. Let this be the day you draw a line in the sand, the day you look back and say, that's when it changed. That's when the hoping stopped. That's when the waiting ended. That's when you became. And if you've made it this far, then I know this much. You're not here for a small life. You weren't born for average. You're not built to lose to fear. You are here to rise. no matter what stands in your way. So don't stop. Your future needs you. And if this message lit a fire inside, then subscribe, because this is just the beginning. In the next video, we'll dive even deeper into the mindset of unbreakable resilience and how to stay sharp under pressure. The world has enough fear. What it needs now is more of you. So go, build, rise, claim what's already yours.